Hello there. I'm Rena Hoffes, Independent Senior Sales Director, and I just want to tell you a little bit about why direct sales and why I chose direct sales. I was an electrical engineer. I decided to go into direct sales. So I loved being an engineer. I got to design radio and cell phone systems. I had a great job. I had a great salary. I thought my life was pretty good. The only thing was I had no time. I was getting up super early in the morning, maybe around 6 a.m., going to work every day, sitting in traffic, dealing with parking, going in, working all day, and then getting off at 5 or 6. I wanted to go to the top as fast as possible. So when they offered me proposals for extra work, I said yes. And so sometimes I was working weekends, sometimes I was working nights. And when they said, come do trade shows to get more business for the company, I said yes. And so I was making really great money and having a lot of fun, but I had no time. I started doing a little bit of direct sales and network marketing just for fun. I thought, you know what, it would be good to have a paying hobby. I would maybe make some new friends, maybe pick up some new skills, meet some interesting people. Plus, I was working with guys, I was going to school with guys, and I thought, well, it'd be fun to have some girlfriends. I wasn't a huge success in the beginning. I was doing it part-time, I was doing it for fun, but I was learning so much. I think looking back, I underestimated all the benefits of learning a new skill set. I could communicate with clients, I could explain how our computer systems and software systems worked so ordinary people could understand what they did. And all of a sudden, I was getting promotions at work. I was learning how to market not only a product, but I was learning how to market myself. And so for 2 years, I kind of played around with it, and that's what I did. I went to all the meetings to be motivated and appreciated. I took all the skills and used it for my engineering career. I showed up at a breakfast for my company, and they were ladies that were guests there. The lady that had sponsored me into the company started introducing the guests. And she asked one of the guests, hey honey, what's new and exciting in your life? And the girl said, well, I'm 18 years old, I work in fast food, and I am so excited. I just got a 50-cent an hour raise. And I thought, oh my goodness. You admit in public that you work in fast food, and 50 cents an hour, I just felt bad for her. I was a very good numbers person. Numbers are my friends. I took out a napkin, I ran the numbers. My last raise, you guys, 8 years of radio design experience and a master's degree, was 72 cents an hour. And I remember the next thought that went through my head, and I thought, whoa, fast food really pays well. And I thought, no, that's not it. And so I decided for 6 weeks, and only 6 weeks, I was gonna treat direct sales with the same respect I treated my engineering career. I was doing direct sales on my commute and some lunch hours, but I decided I was gonna do it on every single lunch hour. It kind of made sense to me. I would work 8 hours a day for my job, and then I would work 1 hour a day at lunch for me. So I started holding appointments, and if I wasn't holding appointments, I was passing out cards and running errands every single lunch hour for 6 weeks. And at the end of 6 weeks, I had earned the use of my first company car. And I was so excited. I thought, oh my gosh, for 6 weeks of work, they've given me a company car, and I've been working almost 9 years as an electrical engineer, and no one had even offered me a company car. So I decided for 6 more weeks, I'm gonna try it again, and I got promoted to a management position, and I never really looked back. One of the things I love about doing direct sales and network marketing is that you don't have to quit your full-time job. I worked 4 years full-time as an electrical engineer and had a management position in direct sales. I actually earned 2 company cars while working full-time. And that's when I decided, you know what? I wanted to make a switch. So no one told me I had to make a switch, and no one told me how many hours I had to work. I just decided that it was time for me to do something different. When it came to direct sales, I did it wrong. I thought, hey, this could be quick money. I don't have to put in a lot of effort. What I realized was that our skill level mattered. But what mattered more than the skill level was caring about people. So the more I cared about people, the more money I made. I've seen other consultants come in and they've said, hey, listen, I sold candles or I sold kitchen stuff, and I've tried this before, but it didn't work. Well, what happens is the better our skill level is. And direct sales is like a skill like anything else. I put my kids in soccer lessons in kindergarten, first grade, second grade, third grade. They were in soccer lessons for 8 to 10 years before they could try out for a high school team. And just like that, as we build up our skills in direct sales, we make more money. It's not 10 years and it's not practicing all the time to get on a soccer team or the Olympics. We can learn that skill set in a few months, just depending on how much action we're willing to take. So I look at my background, I'd spent 4 years and $40,000 just to become an electrical engineer before I made a dime at engineering. But in this, I could make money without that level of investment and that high price of entry. So I just loved it. I had freedom, I had impact, I was appreciated. And what that meant for me was less struggle. I was tired of struggling, and it was so much fun to design my own schedule without the struggle. And I also liked that I could keep the money I made. My results aren't typical. Most people come into direct sales and they do it for a few months, and then they'll go around and telling you that they didn't make money. And for that, I tell them the car analogy. There's a lot of ways to make money driving a car. For example, a pizza delivery guy drives a car. The pizza delivery person takes a pizza from the pizza place and gives it to somebody. Do they make money driving a car? Absolutely. Just like everyone in my unit makes money in direct sales. Is it a lot of money? No. Because you know what? Anyone can be a pizza delivery guy. You need to be 16 years old and have a driver's license. Now, a cab driver also makes money driving a car, but you know what? A cab driver is usually more structured. They have to take payment. They have to take luggage in and out of the car, so it's a little higher skill level and a little more work, but they make more money. A policeman also makes money driving a car. But the policeman needs to know how to drive forward and backward in hazardous weather. And not only that, not only does a policeman need to know how to drive a car, but they need to know how to handle the situation once they get to the place. They don't just drop off a pizza or drop off a passenger. They have a different level of skill. We can make money doing the exact same thing, driving a car, as a pizza delivery man, as a taxi driver, as a police officer, or we can make money driving a car as a professional race car driver. Professional race car drivers make millions because their skill and education level is so much higher. That's all it is. And what I loved about direct sales was that I didn't have to spend 4 years and a college degree and get a master's to get up to that level. I could take the action and get the skill level and experience that I needed. I have never had anyone invest in me, my personal skills, my emotional skills, my time management skills, and my money management skills the way direct sales did. I was also kind of afraid about what would happen if I got started. Like if I said yes, what happens? So for me, it was ordering a starter kit. The starter kit was a pretty low entry price. It was $100. I got the starter kit at home and opened it up, and it was a ton of products, and then I kind of flipped out. They asked me to book 5 practice appointments. I was scared to death of booking these 5 practice appointments. I actually took a day off work to make 5 phone calls because I was so nervous and so scared. But once I made those 5 phone calls and people were so nice to me, I realized, you know what? I can make 5 phone calls, and it gave me confidence. The last thing that made me say yes is that most direct sales companies have very high ethical standards. For example, in Mary Kay, did you know that we have a 90% buyback parent policy? And I thought, oh my gosh, this company is willing to take a 90% risk on me. I can certainly take a 10% risk on myself. So if I had ordered products and didn't sell them, did you know I had a year to send them back and get 90% of my money back? So really low risk. And I thought, well, that's awesome. Maybe I need to ask my friends and family and poll them first. I look back to my first meeting, my first invitation to a meeting in Mary Kay. And the first person I told was my dad. I said, Dad, there's a girl, she wants me to sell Mary Kay. And you know what he said to me? He said, hey kiddo, go and find out what they have to say. I was blessed because I had a champion in my corner, an encourager, someone that said, why not? But most people have crabs in their corner. Have you ever heard the story of the crabs? It was kind of like where I worked. Did you know crabs are the easiest to catch? because you just put them with food in a trap, and once one crab comes, all the other crabs come for the food. You don't even have to put a lid on the trap, because when you pull the trap out of the water, if a crab tries to get out and get to freedom, the other crabs actually pull them down and bite off their legs so they can't leave. And then they all get cooked in the pot together. I realized I didn't want to wait until I was ready to take action. Instead, I needed to take action so I could get ready and learn some new skills. I had nothing to lose by trying, and so many times opportunity is missed because it comes dressed in overalls and looks like work. Sometimes I'm asked, why did you give up engineering? I didn't give up engineering. I just kind of made a switch. It wasn't really one thing. It was a bunch of little things. For example, when I first started as an engineer at TRW, we had cubicles, and so we could hear the conversations of everybody else in our cubicles. TRW had an amazing retirement program when we gave them 30 years of service. Well, the company policy was at 29 or 29 and a half years, they would lay people off. And since the person was laid off, they never hit the 30-year mark to get the amazing retirement. And I remember sitting in cubicles listening to guys my dad's age call their wives and tell them they'd lost their jobs. And they didn't know about the retirement. One guy that was sitting next to me, so at this point I was brand new, so I was reading specs while I was waiting for a security clearance. Their granddaughter had cancer, and so every day for his 6-week grace period, he would call his wife, reassure her about how there would be money coming in and they would take care of their granddaughter and find some other way to pay for her treatment. And I just remember thinking, you know, if I give someone 30 years, I don't want it evaporated. I don't want my dreams to just get washed away or built on quicksand. So I looked at all the people that were super successful in Mary Kay, and I thought, well, what do I got to do to model them? What do I need to become to be successful? And the first thing I realized was they were busy. I needed to have a full life, have a great personal life, have time with my family, and it was a lot easier when I had a full-time job to compartmentalize, but once I quit working, I really had to provide that structure myself. But the busier people were, the more successful they seemed to be. The next thing I realized that the successful ones were hungry. They had more month than money. Money meant something to them. They always had a financial goal that they were striving for. There wasn't a very big entry point, just the starter kit and getting, you know, maybe some basic products for the first few parties, but they needed to be hungry. The other thing I realized was my most successful clients were people that I met through the business, not people that I knew. It was all right to practice with people that I knew, but I have 2 sisters and only one of them sometimes buys Mary Kay. So even in my own family, not a ton of people that are my client, what benefits they had achieved. So whether it was taking the kids out to a fast food restaurant for lunch or having more money to have a family brunch on Sunday, and some of them, you know, it was just like a car payment or paying off the cell phone bill, just something little that made it successful. They didn't know a ton of people and they were willing to work for their dream. The next thing that I noticed about very successful Mary Kay people were they cared about their families. They were willing to do more for their families, and they had a bigger goal than just themselves. They were doing it for somebody else. Whether it was like for me to build a house for my in-laws so my husband could feel like he did something for his family, or for my kids to be able to see the world so that they could have their own opinion of what the world was like. And finally, they were decision makers. I always tell the story of my friend Jennifer and I that we worked at TRW together. I was engineering, she was finance. The first time I offered Mary Kay to Jennifer, she was going to night school and getting a master's degree, but she told me once a few classes were under the belt, her time would be better. Well, what do you guys think? Full-time job, night school, not a good time. The second time I offered her Mary Kay, a few months later, she was pregnant with her 3rd child. And she said, listen, I'm wrapping up my night school classes. I almost have my master's in accounting. But once the baby's born, things will be better. And then a few months later, I ran into her at the lunchroom and I talked to her about Mary Kay. She said, you know, I'm going to sell Mary Kay. And I thought, sure, Jennifer, of course you're going to sell Mary Kay. But she said that she was looking for a new job. She had just put her house on the market She was moving to another state, so now pregnant, moving, changing jobs, so not a good time. But she came by my office later that day and she said, "Do you have the consultant's guide?" And I didn't know how she had heard about it, but a lot of major universities and corporations base their training material on Mary Kay's guides. So I said, "Sure, Jennifer, here's the guide. Have an awesome day." She called me 2 days later, totally panicked. And I said, "Jennifer, what's wrong?" And she said, "You know that guide you gave me?" And I said, "Yeah." She goes, "You know there's conversations there?" I said, "Yeah." She said, "I read one of the conversations to my niece and she booked a party with people. What do I do?" And that's how Jennifer got started. At that point, she was 7 months pregnant. She had just quit her job at TRW and was in the middle of moving and had her first party that I did at her grandmother's house. Over $800 in sales back then. Ended up 4 months later earning the use of her first Mary Kay car, breaking my record. I was so proud. And then you know what she used to say to me? Let me tell you the 3 gifts of being in direct sales. The first gift I feel like I've gotten is that I was appreciated. When I started my Mary Kay business, I was afraid of public speaking. In fact, my very first presentation as an engineer, I didn't sleep all night. I was so nervous. And when I told this to my mentor, Joan, she said, "Well, that's what you need to learn. You need to learn how to speak in public." And she would give me the mic and the stage at little events until I got the confidence to speak in public. And I'm happy to say now that I have spoken in front of thousands of people. Not only do I not hide from the mic, I actually want the mic. The best feeling in the world I had was when I got my first standing ovation. I'd never had a standing ovation before, and it was amazing to know people appreciated that. Even now I have people come up to me and say, "You know, 10 years ago I heard you speak and you changed my life." What a blessing, not only to overcome a fear, but to know that I was actually changing people's lives. I also told Joan that I wanted my kids' life to be different than mine. And she said, "You know what? You need to pay their college educations before they're 2. And I was looking at my son in diapers, and I was thinking, "Are you serious? College? I can barely afford diapers and childcare." But Joan gave me a plan of how I could do it. And I said, "Joan, you got the wrong girl. I am shy. I'm afraid of talking to people. I don't know how to carry on these social conversations. I'm a numbers girl." But Joan believed in me. And I had friends in Mary Kay that believed in me. They kept encouraging me. They kept sending me notes in the mail. They kept applauding me at meetings and saying that Rena was going to do big things. And all of a sudden, after months of hearing it from their lips, I started eating it. And I was able to hold the parties and have the confidence to show people the product. When I first became a director in Mary Kay, because of my engineering problem-solving skills, I came out with a new team building system. It was featured on a company cassette. Yes, I said cassette. And it went out to 14 Mary Kay markets. I was a rock star. It was such an honor to be appreciated for my problem-solving skills. I remember one day we were driving home and there was this huge bouquet of flowers on the door. And my husband looked at me and he said, "Who are those from?" And I thought, clearly not you. And so I ran to the door and I read the card, and it was from a director in Richmond named Betty. And Betty said that my team building presentation had helped her turn her unit around, and she was thanking me by sending me flowers. It was nice to be a big deal in a company that remembered your birthday, that remembered your anniversary, that sent us little gifts, sometimes that we earned and sometimes just because. The day that changed my life was when I had my second company car. I remember earning my first company car, and yes, earning the use of a car was work. I had to learn new skills. I had never done this before. But when I earned my second car, it was not work at all. Have you ever done a job so long that you know it so well that really you're not putting a lot of effort? Well, that's how it had become at me. And it just occurred to me that they would give me a brand new car every other year, rest of my life, for just keeping up this level of work that I had totally mastered, and that was no effort for me. So some people say, "You know what, I don't have the money to make a change." You don't need a lot of money to make a change. You'll be surprised how little money can make a big change in your life. Think about your impact, not what you don't have. Other people feel overwhelmed and don't have them. What I realized was I had time on my commute and I could rearrange my lunches. Maybe there's time hiding somewhere in your schedule. Yes, I worked for several corporations, and yes, every now and then they would mention at a meeting that I had done a good job or I got published in a national publication. But I got appreciated constantly. I got phone calls of appreciation. I got note cards with appreciation. I got recognition at meetings. I got ribbons. It was just constant people telling me how great I was. The benefits of having appreciation on that level is when people are telling you how great you are on a regular basis, you start believing that you're great. And my personal power grew. My confidence in myself grew. I used to be scared of death, of confrontation. And now all of a sudden I knew how to keep calm and manage a confrontation. I used to be scared to death of presenting something I liked or I loved. And now I just realized I'm educating people. I'm educating people and asking them when they want to have the next connection to get some more education. It was so nice to have that level of appreciation. And the biggest thing was I was given a mentor. And this mentor back then, imagine this was 22 years ago, had an 800 number. So there used to be a thing as long distance calls, and you had to pay to call out of state. And she was on the West Coast, I was on the East Coast, and I would call that 800 number, and there were some times in my personal life stuff was going on, and I would just cry. And to have someone that listens to you, how many people in your life do you have that really listen to you? And I had someone that listened to me on her dime, on an 800 number, and built me back up and put me back together so I could go back and be a wife and be a mom and be a working lady. But to have mentors like that. So my first gift was the gift of appreciation, and I didn't realize the difference having people regularly appreciate me in my life would make. The second gift I think we get from a network marketing career is impact. Yeah, sure, I made a difference as an electrical engineer, but a lot of times the managers above me made decisions that maybe undid my work or changed up what I was doing. So the impact was not that great.
I would work overtime, I would take on extra projects, anything to do to move up my career and really make a difference for the company. But you know what? When you shine really bright in a corporation, not everybody's really happy for you. And several people started putting obstacles in my way. In fact, I got one manager that just made my life super tough. Constantly micromanage my work, constantly check all my numbers and make me do them over and over again when he knew they were right. And so it was so frustrating. What I loved about my direct sales business was on Monday nights, we would have company meetings. And everyone at the meeting was happy. And they were happy to see me. And they would give me the strength and the encouragement I need, telling me that I was strong, telling me that I could handle it, telling me that I could make a difference. And even if I was young and didn't have a lot of experience, I mattered. And so I could just keep up with so much stress at my other job because I had a great supportive system. Not only were they supportive with me at work, but they were supportive with me personally. My mother-in-law got cancer and it was devastating. The family fell apart and they were all fighting and it was so stressful for us. And what I loved about my Mary Kay business was I got notes of support from my sister consultants. I got offers for people to take me to lunch and listen, me pour my heart out. I got friends that would take me to the movies to get my mind off of stuff. I even had mentors in the business that wrote notes to my mother-in-law so that she would have a speedy recovery. It was like having a warm blanket of great friends that just believed in you and wanted the best for you. In fact, one of the craziest things I did when I first started is I told my work friends that I was going to build my dream house with my new business. And they all made fun of me. They even said, "Hey, are you going to drive one of those pink Cadillacs?" And I felt really bad and small. But you know, my Mary Kay friends said, "Yeah, you know what, you're only in your 20s, but you can build your dream house." And they supported me until I got it. The other impact that this business had was, so I was on salary. I didn't have any financial flexibility. For example, when our water heater broke, I had no way to get the $800 that I needed in 4 days. But with my Mary Kay business, I took my starter kit out from under the bed and I was like, you know what? I need $800 for a water heater. I don't have to run up credit cards. I don't have to deplete my savings. I can work. And yes, I did work that weekend. And yes, I did make $800 and it felt so good handing the guy cash and knowing Peter was taken care of. And the gift that Joan Bruner and many of the other national sales directors and Mary Kay gave me was they gave me the gift of becoming a lifelong learner. They taught me to always listen to CDs in the car so I would grow while learning in the car. In fact, when I went to Prague, so I'm dating myself, I had gotten a cassette tape on Fast and Easy Czech, and I was actually spouting out phrases in Czech during my trip, and my father, who had been working there with the State Department for 2 years, was so impressed. All of this learning just in the car. Because I became a lifelong learner, was reading books and listening to CDs. What did I give up for my success to make such impact? Well, 2 things. I gave up TV because I realized TV really wasn't serving me, and I gave out house cleaning. I was able to afford a house cleaner, and I have not vacuumed my house in over 2 decades. It's a great feeling. Try it some. My mentor, Jack Canfield, always talks about the poker chip theory. For example, if 2 people are at a gambling table, and one person only has 5 chips and the other person has 100, who can afford to take more risks? Being in direct sales, I got more poker chips, more success chips of little successes that I made, and then I was willing to take bigger risks. Those risks gave me confidence, and that confidence I passed on to my children, and it was so exciting to watch them hit major goals because they had the confidence to try out, to fail, and to get up again. Because you know what? I didn't tell them to do that. They watched me do that. I've been able to have the confidence to take bigger risks. I was published in a book, then I was writing my own book, and then I did a half marathon. And then I thought, hey, if I could do a half marathon, maybe I can do a whole marathon. And then I decided, hey, if I could do that, maybe I could learn another language. So it was just amazing that I could just keep taking more and more and more risks.
I can build someone year after year after year. I've had women on my team that have been with me for 15, 20 years. I've seen their kids grow up. I've seen my kids grow up with having strong, confident women that were making impacts, with having a mom with a yes, I can attitude. You know, as an engineer, I was afraid of talking to people, and all of a sudden I could talk to people and I had influence. And so I was able to teach my kids how to talk to people and my kids influence and give my kids the confidence I have. So it was so fun. I went to a parent-teacher conference, and at this conference, all the teachers are sitting behind desks, and each parent, they put on a timer, and you have 3 minutes to talk to a teacher about your kids. So they go through and they tell you the kids' grades and how the kid's doing. And my kids' teachers, everyone were saying, your kids are so happy. Your kids are always smiling at school. Your kids have so many friends. Your kids always seem content. Your kids have confidence. And I remember my daughter's 8th grade teacher at the time saying, 8th grade girls sometimes tend to be a little mean. And I have a 6th grade girl, and I wonder about that sometimes, but I just hope that when my daughter gets into 8th grade like your daughter, she handles it as well as your daughter does. But I'm able to impact my team. I have consultants that I was able to help them earn enough money to fund their weddings. I've had consultants that I was able to teach them a skill set where they could fund vacations for their families, the first time they ever got to take their kids to Disney. And it was so nice to see women who were like, hey, I'm living paycheck to paycheck, I'm living on a credit card diet, to be able to pay off credit cards and do those little extra things that they wanted in life. Such a blessing. And then I was able to help women go into leadership, to see them earn their company car like I had earned, to see them walk away from stressful jobs like I was able to do, and to see them really build a life around their family where they could work on their own terms and make the amount of money they wanted. The next gift I feel that direct sales gives is freedom. I had freedom. I always tell people I was a stay-at-home mom that always had cash, but I was a work-from-home mom that always had time.
Direct sales is the best path for freedom because you can work when you want, you can promote yourself when you want, and you can make as much or as little money as you want it. My first 4 years, I was full-time as an electrical engineer. I was working a few lunch hours here and there on my part-time Mary Kay business. As my business grew, I started working all my lunch hours and my commute. What I loved about direct sales was In engineering, whenever I wanted a promotion, it was all about what I wasn't. Did I have the right degree? Did I have the right work experience? Did I have enough years of experience? And I was young and I was hungry and I was tired of told what I was not. When I decided to move up in direct sales, everyone encouraged me. Everyone in the company pulled together to help me grow. I loved having the help and the support. My first year of 1099 income, guess what? I didn't put any money away for taxes. When April came along, I was kind of nervous when I went to the accountant because I hadn't withheld any taxes because 1099 income, get your whole check. After talking to the accountant, she said, and this is your refund. I said, refund? I don't understand. I didn't hold back any taxes. How could I possibly get a refund? Well, because we got so many tax deductions, off my husband's income, we got taxes back and we were getting a refund. I thought, wow, this is amazing. This is a whole new ball game for me. So because of that, we decided to get granite and countertops for our kitchen. And it was so fun. We had so much money that we even got granite backsplashes for our kitchen. And our kitchen looks so great with the new countertops and the new backsplashes. And it was just all from my extra business money. And since I was getting new granite countertops, of course, I needed a drop-down sink. And because I needed a new sink, we went shopping for a faucet. Can you imagine 2 engineers at Home Depot on a Friday night shopping for faucets? It was so cool. Ceramic washers, stainless steel, copper piping. We were having such a great time. Our faucet is so cool that when people come to our house, they don't know how to turn it on. And the ones that figure out how to turn it on don't know how to turn it off. Well, 3 days after my countertops were installed, the maid showed up and I had put really fancy Mary Kay men's cleansing soap in the dispenser to freshen up the hands. I was trying to give the whole sink a masculine flair so my husband would do dishes more. Don't worry, it didn't work. The maid didn't figure that out. She thought it was dish soap and she washed all my new dishes with the Mary Kay men's cleansing gel. The other freedom that the business is giving is I can come and go as I please. And I am a recovering travelaholic. I take 5 or 6 vacations a year. What I wanted was for my kids to see the world, get their own opinion, not have someone else's opinion of the world. I thought if they could meet people and experience different countries for themselves, they could make up their own mind instead of having someone else tell them what to think. Last year, I hit one of my biggest goals. I was able to take my kids to their 7th continent of Antarctica. We got to see a cruise. They got to see penguins. We got to take a polar plunge on Deception Island. They were also blessed when they studied the animal life cycle in 7th grade. I took my kids on a safari to Africa and they got to watch the animals, how the animal life cycle worked there. And when they studied Spanish, went to Peru and Galapagos. We got to swim in the Pacific Ocean around the Galapagos Islands, and we even got to see Machu Picchu and sail on Lake Titicaca. And then finally, I had heard about the Sydney Harbour Bridge and the Australian bridge crime. And anytime I hear about something, I want to do it. So of course, we drove all over Australia for a month and visited different sites. Where could you go without taking off a month? I remember my husband, who still has a day job, flipping out going, "You need to tell me the dates. You need to tell me when the tickets are because I need to fill out a leave slip." And I thought, a leave slip? Who fills out one of those? I just come and go when I please. And I have the internet. I can do my business anywhere. But the biggest freedom that this has given me is the freedom from what other people think. A few years ago, our local school started a school fair called a marketplace. And me and my big mouth, I said, well, listen, if you're going to have a bunch of vendors come to a marketplace, we should do a raffle too. Well, since I suggested a raffle, they said, why don't you take care of the raffle? So next thing I know, I'm the raffle goer. Did you know my one-woman raffle raised more money for the school than the 75 vendors combined? And that's because I had learned how to ask. I had learned how to share my story. I had learned how to show people the value of participating and connecting with people. And people ask me, how did you get so many gift cards and donations for the raffle? Let me tell you my secret. I just told them my goal. I told them they would make a difference, and that's how you do it.
So I got time freedom. Last year I was blessed enough to take 6 vacations, and I will tell you, as an electrical engineer, you guys, I used to get 2 weeks of paid vacation, and literally I was taking 4 hours here and 6 hours there, and coming in at 6 a.m. working 2 hours, so I would only have to take 6 hours to get the whole day off. I mean, I was doing crazy stuff because I had no time. And now, being in direct sales, I have all the time I need to do what's important to me. So when my sister needed help moving, I could show up. And when my mom got sick and needed me to show up, I could take off 6 days if I needed to. When my dad had surgery, I could show up. I could, my grandma, before she passed, I could show up every Wednesday just to hang with her because, it was Wednesday and it was grandma time, and still maintain a great income. And so all I ever wanted to do was be a 6-figure stay-at-home mom and show other women how you could be 6-figure stay-at-home moms. And what I learned is the freedom and the flexibility are priceless. So on one hand, I was a working mom. On one hand, I was earning, diamond rings. On one hand, I was earning company cars. On one hand, I was taking all these trips. But on the other hand, I was jump rope coach for my kids, showing up at 7 a.m. every day at school and hanging out with them for an hour and a half teaching jump rope. On the other hand, I was Thanksgiving lunch volunteer. I was also art room volunteer. So I showed up at 4 different kids' art classes on 4 different days and helped the art teacher pass out paints and clean paintbrushes. I met the bus every day when my kids got off. I was able to drive my kids to school every day. It was nice because I was with my kids as much as I wanted to be, and then I was away from my kids as much as I wanted to be.
If nothing changes, nothing changes. And if we don't change, our life doesn't change. 5 years from now, you are going to be 5 years older, but will your life be 5 years better? Go ahead and schedule a 10-minute consult and see if this is the change you've been looking for. If you're tired of struggling and looking for ways to be successful, someone has already figured out the way. They have a plan to show you how you could earn residual income and really make an impact in your family's life. Opportunities don't come around every day. Over 30 years ago, a lady called me at Texas A&M and offered me a Mary Kay facial. I have never been offered a Mary Kay makeover ever since. Can you imagine where I would be if I had said no? I have the privilege of looking back 25 years to the women that said yes to the opportunity. Some of them did it for a season. I had 2 women that learned how to run a business and then went to run other businesses because they learned the skill. I had other women that did it so they could stay home for their kids while their kids were young. I had other women that came into the business and used the marketing skills from the business to get promotions at work. So maybe it was just for a season. I look at many of the ladies that I worked with in corporate America, and I have the vision of seeing 2.5 decades. What happens with 25 years of stress versus 25 years of fun, freedom, and flexibility? All of us are 25 years older, but I love the way I look when I look in the mirror because of my Mary Kay products. There might be an easy path out of this struggle. So I invite you to find out more and see if there's more freedom and appreciation waiting for you in life. You were meant to make an impact, and maybe this is the way that you will change the world. Thank you so much for watching.